I next invite Dr. R.K. Sinha to address the audience. Dr. R.K. Sinha is Chairman, Atomic Energy Commission and Secretary to Department of Atomic Energy Commission. I'm sure thorium is a subject very dear to him. He has been closely associated with designs of thorium fuel reactor systems like Advanced Heavy Water Reactor, Compact High Temperature Reactor, Innovative High Temperature Reactor, and Molten Salt Breeder Reactor. Dr. Sinha.
Respected Dr. Chidambaram, Dr. Basu, Dr. R.V. Grover, Dr. Purohit, Dr. P.K. Vijayan, A.K. Nayak, distinguished personalities in the audience, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be here standing in front of you in the inaugural session of this very important conference, Thorium Energy Conference 5th edition. I have always been appreciative of this initiative which has taken place in different corners of the world. So far, we are the 5th one. And the deliberations have been always of the highest quality. And I hope that in this conference in India, where we are carrying out programs in all aspects of thorium utilization, as you will learn from many of the presentations and speeches which will be made here. I think in India, it provides a much, in my view, important forum for discussion, particularly when we are keenly looking forward to launching our first heavy water reactor with thorium-based fuel very soon. The construction phase should start. Well, I am only one of the persons on the stage who has got a privilege of being a speaker in the very next session. So I don't want to alert you in advance as to what I am going to speak on that occasion. I only wish that encouraged by the bad weather or hot, sultry weather outside, you will continue to remain in the hall and be able to hear my talk when I'm giving it to you. I just take this opportunity to tell how important thorium plays a role in the whole program of the Department of Atomic Energy. In fact, way back in the early 50s, even before the Department of Atomic Energy was born, the Indian Rare Earth Limited, which with the prime mandate of mining the beach sand minerals, which include monazite, and that contains thorium in addition to rare earth minerals, was established way back, I think in 52 or 53. And thereafter, the work for exploitation of these beach sands, including monazite, continued, though with less priority for thorium than more for removal of the precious rare earths. And by the year 2004, enough rare earths minerals were exported after separation, rare earth compounds, and we had plenty of thorium left. Thereafter, of course, because of the internationally competitive market conditions, rare earth market was difficult to manage for the Indian entity. They stopped separation of the rare earths, which they have started very recently once again. But all I want to say that we have got so much thorium available with us already that when we launch this advanced heavy water reactor 300 megawatt, we have got enough thorium in hand to last 1,000 years of operation of this reactor. So now only the issue is how to get the matching fissile material. That's most important. And in a country like India with large population, we certainly cannot expect to keep on importing essential fuel materials, be it oil and gas, which means about almost 80% of our total import bill and 85% of the total domestic petroleum resources, total petroleum resources are actually imported in our country. So such a country cannot be dependent perpetually on imported fuel materials. And that's where we need to look for how best to utilize thorium. And for that purpose, we need to bring in enough fissile material in hand. And that's basically the whole basis for our nuclear power program. It is in 3 stages. To start with uranium, we go to plutonium. In fact, many of us will remember the unique characteristics of thorium as compared to uranium. You have uranium-233 produced after the thorium captures a neutron through a protactinium 233 route. But this U-233 has got very good neutronic properties. You can have high eta value also in the thermal neutron spectrum. It does not absorb many neutrons as compared to, let's say, other fissile materials, but the thorium-232 has a high absorption cross-section. So from that perspective, you do not have a lot of parasitic absorptions in the fuel material, but then you can have a lot of fuel produced through thorium being present in the core along with the fissile material. So therefore, the physicists all over the world have been thinking of very, very innovative concepts. I have heard of many concepts, and practically in each one of the currently operating reactor system, thorium can be used a bit with some extra fissile material pumped inside, and of course you can get the value for that thorium only when you are able to run the fuel for a very high burn-up, at least 40,000 megawatt or higher, otherwise per ton. Otherwise, it tends to absorb more neutrons than it can produce after the fission of 233 is caused. So therefore, this is a challenge for the international community. Thorium fuel cycle leads to uranium-232 along with uranium-233, which leads to daughter products of very high radioactivity, and therefore it is seen as a virtue in the context of proliferation resistance, but it's a headache for the fuel manufacturer. This again brings a challenge. In India, as I will try to speak in my presentation, in India we have tried to look at all the issues which are connected with thorium fuel cycle and the use of thorium in different reactor systems, and we feel that all these problems are surmountable. More or less we have addressed or understood many of these issues, and I will be happy to share the details with you. And I think some of the speakers which follow in different other sessions from India, they will also be covering many of these topics. I think with these words I will conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha, for an informative talk. Now we proceed to the main part of this inaugural session for the address by our chief guest, Dr. R. Chidambaram. To this audience, I am sure he doesn't need any introduction, but for the benefit of the invitees, I take great pleasure in saying few things about him. He has been conferred Padma Shri and Padma Vibhushan by Government of India, and he is currently the Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India and Chairman Scientific Advisory Committee to the Cabinet. Dr. Chidambaram.
Dr. R.K. Sinha, Dr. Shekhar Basu, Dr. R.B. Grover, Shri K.C. Purohit, Dr. P.K. Vijayan, Dr. A.K. Nayak, distinguished participants from abroad.